Rafe and I, in another culture, there's lots of cultures in the world that would call us elders and think we're cool. Listen to us. In this culture, it's I guess it's old guys hoping that there could be some kind of connection to another generation, and it's not something that usually happens, Rafe. It's I think it's hugely to your credit that in the work that you and I have done, like it's hard work, and when people are finished, they tend to go home and they tend to stay there. Lots of them just die. And you apparently are uncomfortable just going home to rest. When I was young, I kind of believed that the Socrates were the devil, actually. And when I first ran for office, it was against Billy Vanderzam, and I cut my teeth fighting Socrates. But I would like to argue, given what the three speakers have said about the present state of affairs, I guess I would like to argue that essentially social credit and New Democrats historically, in the olden days, were simply alternative styles of social democracy. Social democracy, to me, it's a beautiful thing. It's socialism that has to be so elegantly put and honestly achieved that you can get the citizens to actually vote for it, in spite of the fact that they all know it will mean hard stuff gets done and we get taxed. Social democracy means the people actually have some pride that they own it, and then they let somebody manage it for them for a little while, like some kind of steward to be judged every 4 years. When the Socrates were governing, we called them the right-wingers. They nationalized the ferry system. That's Cuba, that's Chile before the wackos took over. That's, they nationalized. They got up one morning, went to the legislature and said, what used to be yours is now the people's. When they had to figure out how to get electricity, they had private companies. They had, like Carol says, they had the sanctity of contracts, and they got up one morning, went to the legislature and said, actually, we need that for the people. I learned my politics fighting BC Hydro because I didn't like all the 6 million feet of storage for the Army Corps of Engineers. I didn't like the treaty. And we used to call Hydro the Authority. They chose that name themselves, the Authority. We kind of got past that fight, and now I want to think about the fact that one difference between Hydro and what you're talking about is even when they do stupid stuff, we own it. We're responsible for it. When we do stupid stuff, we got to fix it. It's not a sanctity of a private contract. And when we do intelligent stuff, we reap the benefits. Social democracy, like when Dave Barrett was in, what did he do? He got up one morning and said, you know what, we got all this auto insurance and we're all paying it, and all the money we pay goes to Toronto, and some of it goes to New York, and some of it even goes to Europe. We should hold that capital here in British Columbia in order to develop it. They went to the legislature and said, okay, now we got ICBC in a day. And of course it annoyed a whole bunch of people. They nationalized the private automobile insurance. Got up another day and said, oh, good, the developers are wiping out the Fraser Valley and Souk and all this stuff. Maybe you got an ALR. Not because it pays. ALR never paid. But because some future generations got to eat. Because it was the right thing to do. I think social democracy began to erode a long time ago. I would argue that social democracy hasn't had a good rethink since the Berlin Wall fell down. Certainly my party hasn't. And yours doesn't even exist. I barely. Right after the Berlin Wall fell down, a whole bunch of stuff happened. They invented computers. Now, monopolies need computers. Computers are the best invention ever in order to move money. It used to be you had to put it in a box. You remember the pirates? They'd tack the ship and they'd steal the box of gold and go bury it somewhere. And then they got rid of gold and they had paper money, but you still had to go get it. As soon as they invented computers, you could move money at the speed of light. As soon as you could move money at the speed of light, countries couldn't govern because the rich people take the money away. Following the invention of computers and the ability to move money around the world, what do we get? The rise of the transnational. It was now possible to move your money faster than we could talk about it. Faster than we could trace it. Certainly faster than we could develop a political analysis to try to figure out how to stop it. As soon as the rise of the multinational, then what happened? Now actually there's 9 companies that are bigger than all the countries, so let's make the laws for them. We got the free trade agreement, then we got the NAFTA, then we got the World Trade Organization, and we got laws now made up by men we've never met, in rooms we have never seen, in countries we've never been to, guarded by soldiers we paid for. That's called globalism, right? And it means that the kind of governance that we grew up with, that it isn't there anymore. The kind of systems that we used to use to hold ourselves intact, they tend not to work so good. When most of the people in this room, I think when you were born, I could make a cogent case that you were the richest people in the world the day that you arrived at the hospital. Because unlike Europe or the rest of Canada, certainly unlike everything east of the Mississippi in the United States, British Columbia, because of the historic wisdom of the Social Democratic leadership of all political parties, they said, no, we will not buy civilization by selling rivers, natural gas, trees, dirt, land. We will hang on to that stuff in some kind of way. We'll call that the crown. And the wealth that the rivers and the soil and the trees and the salmon and the natural gas produce, that'll be the wealth of the future generations. And we, the crown, will somehow try to manage that. If you figured out, sometimes there's huge pieces of land go up for sale in Oregon, Washington, Idaho, and billionaires buy it. If you take the per acre price they pay and apply it to British Columbia the day you were born, you were richer than anybody else except maybe the Saudi Arabia royal family, and they're not nice people. Because of this idea that Social Democrats once had, that it belonged not to us, but to future generations, and the role of governance was to manage it. Now, we got this globalism deal. Lots of us are guilty of this. I have been guilty of this. We have been taught to use the word the economy to replace what our parents might have called the country or the community. We all worried about the economy as if it was some kind of entity, it was something real that you could look at or talk to or take care of. Or as soon as they can move money at the speed of light, then we say, oh, man, we better fix it so that the rich people don't take the money away. So we better lower their taxes so they like to stay here. And then when they got the transnational, we said, ooh, that's not tax profits because then they won't come here. We now make less money on corporate income tax than we do on our children paying post-secondary education fees. We are taxing ourselves more than the people who dig the ore, smelt it, cut the trees, like the pipeline, like all of it. Even the hated fish farms. It isn't just that they're doing a stupid thing on our waters is that they get to then take that money and because we decided, no, we won't. And so what does that mean? It means the only way you can have a society at all. Remember the famous guy who said, I don't mind paying taxes because with taxes I buy civilization. Well, the price of civilization is now you tax yourself or you don't have any. Because you're not going to tax the people with money. Or are you? Would there ever be a political party who would say the systems we used to have no longer work? And this is our land and our water, and we actually want to pass it on to our grandchildren? If that doesn't happen, folks, we are the generation. You know, there's always been the myth of the rich person works really hard with Jimmy Patterson type, except he's alive. Okay, somebody else. works real hard and makes tons of money, and then gives the money to their kids, and the kids fritter it away. Go live in the Cayman Islands and gamble. And that's us. Previous generations decided sometimes to be poor rather than to sow a farm. Our generation, on both sides of the legislature, have decided for a long time that you would rather be comfortable than have them defend the farm. It's not because they're bad people. Sorry for screaming. It's not because they're stupid. The people who represent you okay, some of them are stupid, but I kind of went the wrong way there. But in the main, it isn't evil and it isn't stupidity. It's because they think we want to be comfortable, and so they will sell the farm to keep us comfortable. I want to beg you to engage on a different level, on a political level, where the kind where you actually join the party you vote for, the kind where you write a letter and you sign your name about what you think, the kind that says to other people, you know, when you go to work, they're going to, oh, God, you're a liberal, or you Democrat, you actually participate, are you ever a sucker? I was home watching the hockey game, I'm smart, you're dumb. I'm saying, if you don't participate at the level where the decisions will be made, no matter who wins, they'll think all you care about is lower taxes and comfort. The only people that will make social democracy rise again and some kind of understanding of the Crown's management and ownership of the land and of our responsibility, whether or not to dam those rivers, is if you participate at a level that will be embarrassing. I guarantee you it would be embarrassing. If it doesn't go wrong sometimes, it ain't real. Sometimes I think about how to make these points elsewhere. I was in Terrace last week, which is where this pipeline's going through. Here's an anecdote about the pipeline issue. I was talking to First Nations people in Terrace, and they said, oh yeah, the Enbridge people were through. They said, you're going to give us a job. I said, cool, what's the job? You know that photograph you had there where there was a pipeline laid out and then there was wooden timbers, rough wooden timbers on the ground so the welders could weld? They're going to hire all those guys to make those timbers and put them on the ground. All the workforce comes from Alberta and Oklahoma to weld it together. When I was in Terrace, I was trying to use examples of what's gone wrong. Do you remember Bill Bennett Jr. going to Japan and saying, you can buy our lumber, but you can't buy our logging companies? This land is for British Columbia.
BC is not for sale.
That was the Soviets. That was the guys being fought. More guts on that issue than we have shown in 20 years. I thank you for who you are. I really, 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 really thank you for what you do, and I hope a quarter of us have your energy at your age and your commitment to this BC. Thanks, folks.